And I know I've not got sort of too long today, so I'll kind of just sort of get started really. I really, really,
Sure.
really enjoying the show. It's kind of moody and it's got this kind of slow burning kind of aspect to it, but I think it really rewards kind of patience and it's got a real chill to it.
Well,
Um,
that's good to hear.
with that kind of brewing and kind of bubbling intensity to this, which I love, did that kind of come across in the script? Did it feel like a kind of slow burner when you were kind of reading through it?
Yes, because I think a lot of the subject matter, a lot of the setting up of the basis of where the story comes from, you can't just hammer out. He's a widow. He's a farmer. He's a boy. He's got this problem. You know what I mean? You can't tell people that. You have to let it sort of play out and let it breathe, and then that. Because if you don't have that, why would you care about anything that happens to anybody in it? So there has to be a time to invest some care. But luckily, we got lucky with Louis Ashbourne Serkis, who he just kicks off empathy within you, doesn't he? He's so charming and vulnerable and nice, and I think that's the main motor to this whole series is to take care of Johnny.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm obviously, Louis comes from a kind of rather impressive acting family, I should say, but he really kind of holds his own here. There's so much kind of complexity to his
Yeah.
performance. What was it like working with him as your kind of on-screen son here, and how bright a future has he got?
Oh, like really? It's his present is bright enough. He's in there's three films coming out of Danny Boyle, the 28 years later. And he's in the middle of one of those. He's been shooting it, and he works all the time, Louis. He's done more than I have. Uh, yeah, no, he's brilliant, but he's just charming and presence on set. There's no whiff of the entitled brat about Louis. He's like polite and interested and interesting in with everyone. He's great, real pleasure. And also, we had to, it was quite hard for us because things weren't supposed to be going great for us in it. So you kind of reach for connections, find them, and then sort of damage them a bit. So well, it wasn't plain sailing, if you know what I mean.
And when I woke up this morning, I realised I wasn't the only one who really liked it. I've read a couple of great reviews today. I think The Guardian and The Standard both kind of loved it.
Yeah.
How much attention do you kind of pay to that, if at all, to kind of reviews and the like? I mean, is it something you're kind of interested in the morning after a kind of premiere, or is it something you tend to ignore? I know every actor and kind of creative has their own process in that respect.
Yeah. No, I only ever read my own reviews. I've no interest in anybody else's. But I feel Philippa and I both feel um, a duty of care to follow that up because it's a Buffalo thing, and that's sort of always been the case. But I think also on a you want to see what nasty things they're saying about you, but they haven't been very nasty today, which is unusual.
But I mean, obviously, you're an experienced hand now when it comes to kind of being on the television. But what's it like yesterday, 9 p.m. in Martin Clunes' household? Do you stick it on? Or even if it's not, if you're not watching it, is it in your mind during that kind of hour, knowing that thing I made is now playing for the whole country?
No, it's exactly the same duty of care that we sit and we watch it go out. Um, and even though we've both seen it, but I haven't seen it for a while. Uh, and just to sort of, it's quite, I don't know, to see it going broadcast with commercial breaks and everything, you kind of think, oh, we did that. But also, yeah, it does feel like we ought to see it go out. We once had a film that Buffalo did called Hunting Venus with me and Neil Morrissey and Mark Williams and all sorts in it. And when it went out, the guy whose job it was to flip it between anamorphic and whatever the ratio is they put it out was obviously asleep or something. I think they have to flick a switch between the adverts, which are delivered in a different ratio than the programs. But he just kept during the programs. He was like he was flipping the switch on and off, and it was going whip 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 whip. Somebody said they thought it was a 19 because it was about a new romantic band. Said they thought it was a 1980s video effect. It was just a bit of rubbish. But so there's that professional care. Yeah, it's all about professional. Yeah, it does feel like we ought to.
And I was watching it and thinking one of the things that really struck me was how authentic it felt and how real, really kind of easily you could see Johnny falling into that kind of world. I was just thinking, I was watching it with my wife last night, and she sort of said to me, like, do you reckon you would have kind of taken a sort of random package from one of your mates at school? And I was like, in the wrong circumstances, you just kind of agreed to that without even thinking, and maybe it was quite kind of scary in some ways. I just wanted to know
Really scary.
how
You
much
know.
you kind of knew about the kind of whole county lines drug dealing, and did you do much research prior to
Of
taking?
course we did. Of course we did. Yeah, you can't make this stuff up. Um, it is. I mean, this is a work of fiction, but everything you see that is to do with the machinations of the county lines industry is absolutely factually accurate, and that is a very common double hit trick to coerce somebody into doing. You give them something, make them think they've lost it, so they're instantly in your debt. So you owe them one. So just take this over to the Raglan Hotel, and there you go. Bosh. It's brutal, really brutal.
I know, talking of authentic, I thought your accent was wonderful. I've got Welsh family as well, so I need to check in with them. But how did you go about kind of perfecting that? Were you working with kind of vocal coaches, and were there any particular lines you kind of kept stumbling on? And conversely, were there any that you really enjoyed saying in Welsh?
I can't remember, to be honest. We did this a couple of Octobers ago. So, we did have a dialect coach, but we also had, a Welsh speaking crew who won't let you get away with anything. Um, yeah, we did. So, and Mark Evans, our director, is Welsh speaking and everything. And, and also, we were filming in the kind of border regions where I didn't hear two accents the same out there. It's not as specific as that sort of sharp North Walian thing or the West Walian kind of song. There's plenty of places to hide.
I was watching the show and I kept sort of thinking, I can see the appeal in that more kind of rural life. Just this idea of kind of meandering around on long walks with my dog, it kind of ignited something in me. I know you're a Londoner as well, but you've obviously made the move out to the kind of country. How was that move for you? And was it quite a kind of culture shock?
Oh, not in the slightest. No, it was very incremental and very sort of organic. We went to a wedding in Dorset with some friends and stayed the weekend. And just the next day, we were driving around thinking, "Cool, this is really pretty around here." And then we just toyed with the notion of maybe getting hang on a second, getting a weekend place. And just got these really naughty puppies. No, 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 John, John. Sorry, yes, and we started looking, casually looking at weekends and going have nice weekends in hotels and go and have a look at a couple of houses, and that went on for a couple of years, and then it got a bit more serious, and then we bought our um, first house in Dorset, which was an old vicarage in a village 6 miles away. Shut your face. Um, and then we had our daughter, and then we started to stretch the weekends while she was an infant, and then school came up. It was all just quite all doing. And then we thought, well, if she goes to school in London, we'll never get down here because all her friends will be in London, and wouldn't it be nice for her to go to a country school? Blah blah blah. And that's kind of how it happened. That's how we got here. So it wasn't like, right, we're moving to the country. Oh no, a culture shock. It was very. We put various one toe at a time into the water.
Yeah. It's funny. I went to a wedding in Dorset on New Year's Eve last year, and I had me and
Did
my
you?
wife very similar thoughts as well. Actually, let's
Yeah.
get on to it. But there is actually quite an interesting kind of generational clash here in the show because your character wants to kind of be outdoors. He's a very practical man, but then his son Johnny is very much just kind of stuck inside on his computer. And I actually think it paints a very kind of reflective portrait of kind of modern society. Do you think it's fair to say that kind of kids these days, and I sound so old saying that, just spend a bit more time kind of outdoors?
Well, if they want to, there's so much for them to do indoors. I don't. I mean, I love that right in that first scene with Johnny, where I just say, one day, well, this will be yours, and he goes, great, and rolls his eyes. It does such work. It just, it grounds this sort of teenager boy, embarrassing father, kind of thing, and I think a 15-year-old boy, well, they wouldn't want to do what their dad does, would they? I don't know. Hold on. Oh, I did. but but no, I can see that. We kept an eye on our daughter growing up, waiting for her to one day say, "Oh, I really think I need to be in a city." But she never did, and now she's studying to be an equine vet nurse. She's a country girl, yeah, through and through. Just
Of course,
gratifying.
yeah. And of course, I mean, your wonderful and very talented wife is a producer on this.
Yeah.
With any kind of shoot, so much is about kind of trust and camaraderie. Well, I've been on many sets kind of before, and that's so ingrained when obviously you're dealing with your actual kind of partner. How is it working alongside a kind of spouse? And do you have to make sure when you get home at the end of the day, you don't talk about the project too much?
Um, During a shoot, we sort of don't because we don't do the same job, and so she's not on set all day long every day. So I get a thrill every time she turns up, and she does her stuff and what she does, and at the end of the day, unless somebody fell over or something, I don't, there's not that much to talk about. There's other things to talk about. There's this farm, there's the horses, there's the dogs take up an awful lot of discussion. These bloody puppies do, wherever they are now. They've taken up an awful lot of time. Yeah, there's all that. There's all that stuff. It's a partnership. We've always worked together. It's how we met. So it's not a problem.
You mentioned your dogs. My dog keeps barking today because we've got builders next door. But
What dog have you got?
I've got a Labradoodle. I'm a cliche, but, but
Oh, how rare.
yeah. But one of it, because I wanted to say, because I've always loved, I mean, I've always been a big fan of your work as an actor, but I've always loved your kind of
Thank you.
veering into documentary and all your work with kind of animals and especially dogs. And I'm a really big dog man. I think dogs are the single greatest thing on this planet. And I just wanted to
Same.
know, where did your kind of love for animals and dogs in particular kind of first begin? Did you grow up with pets?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we had a little dog. We had some cats, a little dog, and then I sort of went teenage feral for a bit and didn't have any pets. Then when Philippa and I started living together, we got a Mary Elizabeth, our first golden cocker spaniel, and that was before Emily was born, and she had. It turned out she had complications with her hips and her knees, and she had quite a lot of alarming surgery before adulthood. They don't really like to operate, but she was clearly struggling, and it was huge. The surgery was hugely successful, but her little legs were bound up for weeks. So we had her sleep between our pillows, and then that was the start of the ruin. That's where she kind of slept. Um, and then when Emily was born, it was like I don't know if you remember that the scene in Lady and the Tramp when the baby's born. Jock, the Scotty, describes babies as home wreckers from a dog's point of view. And that's kind of what happened to Mary's idyllic life. And she was a little bit resentful of Emily sometimes. But so it grew from there and just went mental. Now we've got five.
Yeah, yeah. My wife's pregnant at the moment, so we're sort of trying to figure out how the dog's going to be with all of that. But it's exciting though. I'm just looking forward to the meeting, the dog and the baby. So
Yes, I remember it well. I think we slightly suffered from a baby who was jealous of the dog.
that might very well happen in my household as well. But I wanted to look back a little because I mean, I was mentioned before, you've had such a sort of fine career, and I mean, I've always, I mean, I adored Men Behaving Badly. It kind of,
Righto.
I just wonder how often or how fondly, but also how often would you say you kind of look back on kind of projects from your past? Would you consider yourself to be quite a nostalgic person?
Not really, no. But I look back. I did a thing with Neil at the end of last year. We drive, a sort of travelogue thing, driving around southwest France, where he's got a place, and it was nice to sort of go back there because it was such a crazy happy time. But I don't know. I mean, I've usually got something to do. I don't sit around pondering what's happened. But I, make no mistake, I'm completely convinced that I've been incredibly lucky with the jobs that I've had. To get, like as Mark Evans, the director of Out There, said, to get two successes in your life, Men Behaving Badly and Doc Martin. He said it's kind of rare. And I think of William and Mary as being wholly successful as well. I love doing that and all the jobs and the manhunt. So, but anyway, I've just been really, really lucky, haven't I, to get this whole variety of work. And for me, the variety is everything. I'm not a Cary Grant or a David Niven who can charm an audience just by turning up as themselves every time. I like the job of pretending to be somebody else or putting my head somewhere else. That's always struck me as, the work of my job.
Yeah. Well, conversely, because you mentioned obviously doing the work with Neil, this Bon Voyage, I think I was reading. So,
That's right, yes.
yeah, which I'm really looking forward to seeing. But you mentioned you like your job, you liked the act of pretending. Is it different when you're on screen and you're yourself and you're just happy
Yeah,
to be yourself? Yeah.
yeah. It's really nice. It's really refreshing. You don't have to learn any lines. And when I do my things on my own, um, my chief job, I think, is to put the contributor at ease, whoever I'm talking to make them feel comfortable enough, with a weird guy dancing around with a camera and a furry microphone, to put them at ease enough to give their contribution and to tell their story, which is why we turned up that day, if you know what I mean. And it is really refreshing. No costume, no lines, no makeup, no arsing around like that. You just go to amazing places and ask amazing people inane questions.
And I know, obviously, it's kind of it is effectively a kind of men behaving badly reunion of sorts, working with Neil on that. But have there ever been discussions of a return, kind of over the years for the four of you? I mean, even just as a kind of charity skit for comic relief or something, was that ever something that had been brought up, even back in the past, and even if it was kind of squashed?
Yeah, about every 2-3 months
Yeah.
since. Yeah.
even
I
even
don't know what the point would be now, because no broadcaster would want us to say the kind of things that made that show successful. You don't want to hear that from men in their 60s. That ain't right.
No. But I was going back there to Out There for a moment. There was a really lovely moment because I know because you were sort of mentioning about being a kind of real character actor, and there's a lovely moment for a brief second when Nathan recounts kind of his past memories of being with his wife, be it in Australia and Thailand, I think it was.
Yeah.
When you take on a kind of role like this and you kind of get into the character, how much backstory do you give? Do you paint a kind of fuller picture and imagine them at all these kind of certain points in their life, or do you prefer just to kind of go off what's on the page and make that the sort of full priority?
I think with all of those things, you'll call on them if it's not on the page, if you know what I mean. If there's something lacking there, then you'll need to go and look for it, if you know what I mean. But this is the fourth thing of Ed's that I've done so far, and his scripts, he's such a deft writer. I'm just going to check what they're doing. He's such a deft writer that, in actual fact, just little things like that, like Johnny going great and rolling his eyes. How much work that does? That's good writing, That's all right. They're nowhere they shouldn't be. That in a way that work's been done for you. Ed's already done it and put it on the page, and you just have to inhabit it. There's nothing wankier than actors talking about how I got there.
I did ask.
Yeah, I know you did. I can't bear it. It's all to do with the shoes. I don't know. Not with Ed stuff. I have done things in the past where you've had to sort of conjure it, and they're just boring technical things that you do as an actor to get your head ready, I guess.
And not to get sort of too deep here, but I read something a year ago which has really sort of stuck with me, which was the alarming kind of suicide rates in farming and kind of agriculture, which is actually obviously explored in episode 1 of Out There. Do you think it was really important for the show to kind of reflect that? And is that something that you were kind of aware of as well before getting involved in this project?
Well, yeah, I have a farm and I live in the country, so yeah, no, I was very aware of it, and we were. We were pleased with ourselves on Manhunt because we took great pains to present police work as accurately as we could. And we took, as it's the same team, we wanted to take the same pains to present the act of farming as accurately as we could and what it's like. And I think, you know, having that scene in the market was great. That was a real, stock market that we were at. And just to bed it in, but also to bed in the fact that it is unrelenting. You can't take the day off, especially when you've got livestock. It's like it's got to keep coming. Everything goes around. Crops need sowing, then they need harvesting. Animals, you know what I mean? It's like it's non-stop, and that's the sort of treadmill that Nathan is on, alongside all these other challenges that come at him.
Yeah. Well, I thought the authenticity of it was partly why it took so much joy sort of watching it. But so my final question then really, as you mentioned, Manhunt had a second season. Do you think Out There has the scope and character to perhaps continue on beyond this? And is it something you guys would like to do?
That's definitely the plan. Is we want to. It depends how many people watch it, plain and simple. But it did all right with it did quite healthily with its overnights. So, and then that'll consolidate up because everybody watches things in a weird way now.
Yeah, it's true. It's quite nice having the kind of Sunday night thing, isn't it? Because I'm not much of a binge watcher. I don't know about you, but I like to watch things once a week, and I love it when countries kind of talking about stuff as it's going, rather because when it's all released at once, we're all talking about it at kind of different points because we're watching it.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's how stuff goes, isn't it? But I'm always interested by some things. Slow Horses goes out once a week, doesn't it? And other things. And I don't know. Smarter people than me made the decision to do that. Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to tuning in next Sunday anyway to see.
No, it's tomorrow. I mean, tonight.
Tonight. Sorry, episode 2's tonight. Of course it is.
Yes, it goes Sunday, Monday.
Yes.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Even better.
Thought of that. Yeah.
Right. I'll be seeing you on my screen again tonight then, twice in a day. Well, thank you so much for speaking to me today, Martin. It's been a real pleasure. Best of luck with all the puppies. I know how hard work that can be.
They're a nightmare. There's one.
So look.
Oh, it won't stop looking at me.
No.
There he is.
Oh, look at it. What's his name?
Yeah. That one is Murray.
Oh, lovely. Oh.
And his brother John somewhere.
Murray and John, I like it. All right. Cool. Have a lovely rest of the day, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you. Thanks, mate. Thank you. Bye. Cheers. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys.
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey, you guys.
Hey!